Hey, I'm Rusty.
And I'm Heather.
And we're the Bryants, and this is the Redeemed Marriage Podcast.
We are here to encourage healthy marriages, strengthen wounded marriages, and begin the process of restoration to broken marriages.
We aren't licensed counselors, but we are a redeemed couple that loves the Lord and wants to help you journey through this messy, challenging, and fun part of life called marriage. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Redeemed Marriage Podcast. This is Rusty and Heather Bryant. We are back with you after taking a couple of weeks off.
Yes, and I'm so glad to be back.
Yes, it's great.
So glad.
Sitting in our podcast chairs at our podcast table and got our headphones on, our microphones plugged in, and we're ready to roll. But this has been a great couple of weeks just to rest and relax with our family. Went on a little vacation. So thank you to all those who reached out and told us that you missed us and you were looking forward to us being back with you. So here we are. We're back. We're back and ready to start off a good fall because, and I know people listen to this at all different times, but this is actually, what's the date? July 31st.
It's Harry Potter's birthday.
Okay, thank you for that, librarian. So, July 31st, 2022. I know people listen to this at different times, but this is when we're actually recording this. I think it'll go live actually on August 1st. And you start back teaching tomorrow. We got one kid heading off to college this week. Another one starting his junior year. Yeah. He got his driver's license, and he's hitting the roads. And, man, we're just rolling.
We're rolling.
Life is rolling. So when we started thinking about, we've got some plans for some things in the future, maybe later this fall, but we were just kind of thinking of what we wanted to talk about. And we've been doing this podcast. Really, it's been a little over a year, but that first part of that, I guess a year or so ago, we put a bunch of episodes that we had done like as video podcasts, and we just changed them all to audio, and we put them all online as audio podcasts. But then we really didn't start until the fall of last year. So it's been about a year. Been going strong every week. The downloads have been growing. Our people that we've been able to communicate with has been growing. And I went back and I listened to the very first episode that we changed to audio and we posted, and it was called Our Passion, and it was basically just our why we do what we do. And I got to thinking about it, and I was like, man, we've got so many new listeners over the last year. There's probably some people that just kind of jump in and they don't know who we are or why we do it, or, who are we for? Mm-hmm. Like, what is our target audience? Who are the people we're trying to reach and that sort of thing? And I thought, it'd be great if we just sort of went over that today. And so I kind of want to answer these questions. So the people that are listening, they can know that this is what they're sticking around for. So we're going to tell you who we are real quick. We're going to tell you why we are so passionate about marriages. And then this is the most important one, I think. We're going to kind of tell who we're here for. And we'll explain that a little bit. And then kind of how we can help you in your marriage journey.
Yep.
So you ready to roll with
ready.
this? Okay, so really, who we are, we just sort of told in a nutshell. We are we are in Mississippi, in the United States of America, for those of you who listen to us outside of this country, which there are quite a few of those, and we love our international listeners, but we're from Mississippi, and should we tell how old we are? No, let's do this. Let's wait until November, because then we'll be the same age. Because right now I'm a year older than you.
No, I'm always a year younger. No, I think we can tell people. And the reason why is you got two types of people. They're either going to say, oh, gosh, they're old, and they can't relate to us anymore. But what I really feel like is that we have enough experience under our belt that it's not like we're newlyweds right out of the gate trying to tell people how to do marriage. Right. So I'm 47. And Rusty
we've been married for 20.
And Rusty is 48. 48.
You don't even really know. How
Sure,
old
I do. You're older than me. That's all that matters.
Yes, I'm 48. I'm getting really close to that big 50.
Dangerously close to 50.
We have been married for 26 years
Yep,
as
this
of
month.
just a few days ago.
Yep.
26 years. So we have 2 boys. Like I said, today's July 31st of 2022. We have one that literally just got his driver's license a couple of days ago.
So he's 16.
16.
That's
He's
not. Is it 16 in every
16.
state?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Clear
Well,
that up. And
Just-
then 20. How do
Yep.
we have a 20-year-old?
We have a junior in college and a junior in high school.
Yep.
So a lot of life, but we also recognize that there are some things that we haven't experienced yet.
That's right.
So we do our best to talk about all of it, but just so people know why we started this podcast. So we were high school sweethearts, which you should go back if you haven't listened to the podcast, The Story of Us, and it talks about us dating, and then we dated for 7 years, all through high school, all through college, got married, and then it talks about all of that, and of course you can hear our story all along the way, but the nutshell is that after 15 years of marriage, so in 2011, Heather confessed to being unfaithful in our marriage that year during our 15th year of marriage. And so it started us on a journey, as you can imagine. There was tons of heartbreak and tons of questions and doubts about our marriage and our future and all of that kind of stuff. But what we felt like God was leading us to do together and individually was just to become different people, different in our marriage. And so we went on this journey of learning about ourselves and learning about our marriage. We read countless books. We went to marriage intensives. We went to marriage counseling. We went to marriage retreats. Everything that you can think of, we did, and we attacked it head on. And because of that, we were able to restore our marriage, and God redeemed our marriage. And so we became really, really passionate about helping save marriages. And part of that is because our story was very public, not by choice, but it was just public. And so we thought, well, you know what? This is what Satan tried to use to bring us down, and this is how we're going to just sucker punch him.
That's right.
And so we started with the freedom of being able to share our story and to hopefully help other marriages, because we know that there's marriages out there that have gone through similar things, even worse things, but there's also a lot that have given up on a lot less stuff than what we went through.
That's right. That's right.
It was about as bad as you could possibly get. So, so that's kind of. Do you want to?
Well,
chime in
I was just gonna say, you know how we over the last couple of weeks, you know, you said we were on vacation and we had a lot of family time, and there wasn't that, oh, we need to do a podcast on Sunday, because that's typically when we do it, is on Sunday nights. There wasn't that, you know, knowing not a heaviness, but just knowing that that's having to happen. And it was kind of like, oh, we don't have to think about that for a couple of weeks. But you know what? If doggone it, we weren't completely reminded why we do what we do. And there were message after finding friendships that were going through hard times, that God just sweetly reminded me, this is why you're doing what I've asked you to do. Like, it was a reminder of our passion. It was, and please don't hear me say I dread doing these things. I'm just saying that, you know, we took a break because we needed one.
Yeah.
But in that time, God just relit the fire in me of why he is choosing to use us, and why this message of hope and restoration and redemption is so important. There are people, if you are not struggling in your marriage, there are people all around you that are, and you may not know it, but there are people all around you that are struggling in their marriage, and it might be something at their job that's making them weighted feeling, and it's just affecting their marriage, or it could be actual marriage crisis. It might be, I know that like when we go through stuff with our kids, hard seasons with our kids, we can't help but let it affect our marriage. And so I think that a lot of times people think marriage problems and they think, well, I didn't have an affair, or I'm not struggling with pornography, or I'm not, but there's lots of things that can affect your marriage and make it in a place that's not God honoring. And I don't know, these past 2 weeks, God just used it as a time to remind me of our passion, and that's why I'm so thankful we're doing this episode.
Well, you talked about how it's not a dread, but sometimes it's just the heaviness of the stuff that we talk about. And so, just having to think through how we're going to, share that message with people and knowing that we have to be real and authentic and that does weigh on you some. But at the same time, I would say that you and I are a lot closer when we do these podcasts too, because it's communication, and we're still healing. I mean, we're still learning how to be the husband and wife that we need to be. And so as we sit here, so what I'm saying is everybody should grab a couple of microphones and some headphones and sit around and talk. If you're just pretending like you're having a podcast, pick a topic and do it. No, but seriously, so the next thing that we, that's just kind of our story and why we have this passion, because we always believe in saving marriages. And we know that there are circumstances and there are times when, and we did a podcast on this, it was called When You Can't Come Back. And there are those times, and we understand that. But we have a message of hope, and so that's what we're trying to share, because we want that for other marriages that may be struggling. But we're also not here just for marriages that are struggling. So I'm really into podcasts right now, and part of it is because I want to learn as much as I can so that we can be as effective and helpful as we can. And so I listen to a lot of podcasts and how to podcast and all that kind of stuff. And everybody says that you're supposed to narrow down your avatar, which is who it is that you're actually trying to speak to. And you make it as refined and as small as you possibly can. And so for us, if we were to do that, it would probably be, if you had to label that one couple, it would be the ones that had a story similar to ours, that maybe there was betrayal, infidelity, somebody had an affair, and they're listening to us because they want to learn how do we move past that. But we don't want to speak to just those people.
That's right.
Like yes, we can speak to those people because that's our story, but that's not. We want to be a resource for all marriages. So if you're listening to this and you think, oh, they're just going to talk about, how they restored their marriage after an affair, that's not true either. Because we what we've done over the last 11 years is we've learned how to have a strong, healthy, godly marriage. And so we love sharing those things that we're learning as we go along with people. So,
well, and if we only spoke to the people who have been through our story, we're not, like, our heart is to prepare people in a way so that it doesn't happen to
exactly.
you. But if we only talk to the people that it's happened to, then we're not being proactive in trying to put the bulk of our message out there. Needs to be, this is how you keep this from happening in your marriage.
So who are we here for? Well, in our little jingle at the beginning of each one of our
to encourage healthy marriages.
We say that we're here to encourage healthy marriages. So if you're out there and you're thinking, man, I have a pretty good marriage. Yes, this podcast is for you, because we're going to give tips and suggestions and things all along the way that you can, like Heather said, it will keep you from getting to a point where you're in a marriage crisis, but also just, how can we keep our marriage growing? How can we be even better than we are? Everybody should wake up every day saying, what can I do today to make my marriage better? So that's a big one. Like, I love the fact that there are people, and we know that there's very healthy marriages that listen to us.
Sure.
And so we love that. Yeah. The second thing that we say is
strengthen wounded marriages.
So we know that no matter what the wound is, there's and I would almost say that every marriage
Yeah.
every marriage has some sort of a wound.
Absolutely.
And we may not address your exact issue, but we address the wounds that come from marriage. And I mean, you've heard our story, so you know that there's wounds. And so we have some tools and some hope of ways that you can strengthen your marriage even after it's been wounded. And it may not be the big deal,
Sure.
the big affair, or whatever.
Loss of a child.
Yeah, it may not be all those big
Right.
things, but there's wounds. I mean,
Sure.
and in fact, anytime you have just a fight, there
Yeah.
can be wounds that come from that. So there's ways that you can be a part of what we're doing, just listening in and finding out ways to strengthen your wounded marriages. And then the last thing that we say on our little jingle
Is restore. Wait, I forgot. No, begin the process of restoration to broken marriages.
Yes.
Sorry,
And-
I went blank for a
and
minute.
obviously that's just right up our alley because of what we've been through. And so we want to give some steps and some encouragement of how you can start restoring your marriage when it's been in a tough spot and when it's been broken, because we do believe even the ones that have just the worst possible scenarios, we just believe that God is a God that's bigger than that.
He's a God of miracles.
And he's a God of miracles, and so we want to help people recognize that and realize that. So you may be thinking, okay, well, what do you guys do besides have a podcast? How do we help other marriages? And so obviously the first one is our podcast. We love all of our listeners, and we love hearing from you. We think this is probably the most valuable tool because you can listen, your spouse can listen, you can do it on your own time, you can put it in 1.125 speed and go really fast if you need to. But you can do it while you're exercising, while you're folding clothes, commuting to work, all of those things, just in the pickup line, the carpool line. And so we just think that each week, even if that specific topic might not be something that you're really interested in at the moment, it may be something that in the future it could help you. But I think we have like 60 something episodes. So if you're new to this, hey, you
Go to the
can
next one.
binge listen all you want.
Or what I've found and what I've heard other people say is maybe the episode doesn't necessarily apply to your marriage at that moment, but I had a friend tell me they listened to one, and within a couple of days, God brought somebody in her path that her marriage was struggling with that exact thing, and she was able to, speak hope into them after, just listening to something she didn't think applied.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, I listen to lots of podcasts, especially marriage ones, that sometimes I'm like, I'm not in that season.
Right,
but,
right.
It helps us to be able to help other people. Or, we pass along podcast episodes to people all the time. So,
Right.
yes, this is one of the primary ways that we can help marriages. The other one is, we are really big into praying for marriages. And you'll notice from time to time that we actually, on our social media platforms, we'll ask people to send in, how can we pray for you?
Yep.
And like, some of you may think that that's just us posting something, but you would not believe the responses that we get. In fact, we just did that yesterday, and the direct messages.
And we read every
we
one
read
of
them all,
and
we respond to them all, and we pray for them all.
Yep.
And it was a lot of them came in really fast yesterday, and we kind of joked about it because we were like, how do we have time to pray pray for all these and answer all these? But we did, and we did that
because we don't want it to be God bless all the people who messaged us today.
Right.
Like, we want to call them by name and by marriage and by issue.
Yeah, and we even went through and we found some of our old podcast episodes that we thought applied to the ones that were, and we sent them the direct link. So just know that when you come to us and say, hey, could you pray for my marriage, and this is what's happening, that we take that seriously, and we are honored to be able to join you in prayer and to help in that way. The other one, I mean, this is kind of goes along with the same thing, because obviously in order for us to pray for you, you have to actually reach out to us. But just to dialogue with us in, social media messaging, or through our contact form on our website. Our website is theredeemedmarriage.com. And there's a contact form that actually sends us a direct email. Mm-hmm. And so we can respond to it, and it will email you back. And so we've had lots of people that we've been able to communicate with and dialogue with, and just to reach out to us so that, first of all, we can pray for you, but also we have lots of resources. They're not our resources, but we've read through so many books, and we just recommend so many things that we believe in and that have been helpful to us. So, yes, we want you to reach out to us, send us a message, and we take that really seriously.
Yeah. And we have people ask us for resources.
Oh, yeah, specific.
Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the ways we can help. Like if you're struggling with something that is, is specific, that you just need some help, maybe what resources could help you in that area. We've got a lot of them.
Yeah, and I think, perfect is just we can suggest different resources and stuff to you. The other thing is that, obviously we can't, I wish we had the time to face-to-face meet, or, if somebody's local, or Zoom meet, and we don't get a chance to do that with every single person or couple that reaches out to us, but we do when we have a chance. If we're able to, we love to get on Zoom calls with people, and so if that's something that you really are interested in or think that it might help you, we'd love to hear from you. We actually were with a really sweet couple that we spent some time with a couple of weeks ago over in England. And just to be able to do that through technology is incredible. And then we also did, just a couple of months ago, our very first big Zoom. We called it Just a Cup of Coffee.
Yeah.
And we had a topic, and we had people from all over the country that joined us. And so we're gonna do those periodically. And so in order to get on that list and get the link to the Zoom call, you just need to be a member of our email list, which you can do from our website. So we would encourage you to do that. All right. So you may have listened to all this and been like, okay, well, that's all great. So now what? Now what do I do? So we're going to give you just 5 or 6, these are next steps. These are things that we would love for you to do so that you can be a part of what we're doing.
Okay, I'm doing the first one because they get to hear you say it every week.
Go.
Every week. Follow, rate, and review our podcast. That helps us so very much. So as you're listening to this, when you're done, just when you're finished, you can follow us. You can rate the podcast. And if you want to write us a review, that helps even more. And it basically bumps our podcast up in the listing so that when people search for Marriage Podcast, ours is one that pops up. So it just gets our message in front of more people.
Yeah, and I love, just even following. We're saying the next step for you is to follow so that every week it just shows up in your podcast library.
I listen to one every day that's a summary of what I'm reading in Scripture. And it's the first one that pops up every morning because I follow it and I use it every single day.
Yep. So we mentioned our newsletter list. If you're not already a member of that, just go to our website, theredeemedmarriage.com, and one of the first things that pops up is, do you want to join our email list? All you're doing is putting your first name and your email address in there. And then that lets us send you some other resources, some other information, some special things like the Just a Cup of Coffee Zoom call. So things like that we do throughout the year, you'll be the first one to know about it. All right, what else? You're going to go with another one? You want me to keep going?
No, because the next two kind of went together.
Okay, one is we have this online survey. We did a contest back at the beginning of the year where we asked people to fill out an online survey. And we kept it up because we still get lots of responses from that. And this is kind of your way to just be a part of what we're doing by giving us ideas.
And we've gotten some great ideas through that.
Yeah, because
people, some that we may not ever think about.
Yeah, you have an opportunity to tell us things that you would like to hear, like topics that you want to hear on the podcast. But even more important and bigger than that for us is telling us future resources that you're interested in.
Right.
So there's options on there for you to say, I would love to read a book that Rusty and Heather write. I'd love to go to a retreat, a small group, like an online small group, or, there's all kinds of stuff. And that just really helps us to know where our listeners are and what are the things that they need or would like as resources for marriage. So you can fill that out. It's actually at the very bottom of our website, just a small little link that says survey, or you can just ask us for it. And we'll send you the direct link to that.
Yep. The next one we've kind of touched on a little bit, the communicate with us through social media messaging or our contact form on our website. We get a lot of messages from our contact form on our website. People find our website and don't know anything about our podcast. So we're always trying to make sure that we push them in that direction, but then also just, letting us know, what are your hurts? What are the things you want us to pray about? What are some encouraging things? Those have been really fun to read. People who have renewed their vows
Incredible.
just keeping us up to date with what is going on in your life and in your marriage.
All right, so don't turn off the podcast yet, because you're probably thinking, I've heard this stuff before. They're just telling me stuff that I've already heard before, but these last two are really important. And so we would love for you to be a part of our ministry and help us in this way. So one is, if you're a part of a church family somewhere around the country, one of the things that we would like to start doing, especially over the next few years, and even this year, is to speak at churches, and either just as guest speakers or, marriage retreats or conferences that your church puts on. We would love to be a part of that. And so, if you're a part of a church family somewhere around the country, reach out to your church and just say, hey, do we have anything coming up that we could, use some resources for marriage ministry? And, we would love to talk to anybody about that. That's just something that
And we've done that before, so it's not something to be scared of.
Right. But it's something that we're really excited about doing more of. And the only reason why we haven't done it more and more and haven't pursued it more is because of the stage of life that we're in. Right. We've got one kid that plays college soccer. We've got one kid that's playing 2 sports in high school. And so it's tough for us to schedule more than, 1 or 2 a year.
Right.
But over these next few years, we see that as being something that we want to pursue more and more. So would love for you to reach out to your church about that. The last thing is this. I think that a lot of people are scared to share our podcast or share our ministry with other people because you're scared that somebody might think that your story is our story.
That's right.
And I don't want people to think that, that we're going through an affair.
Or that our marriage is in trouble.
Yeah. So we want you, that's part of why we did this today, because we really wanted you to know that that's not all that we're about. We want to encourage and strengthen all marriages. So, an easy thing for you to do is just through social media, be able to, share our social media posts, or just create your own post sometime that just says, hey, this is a podcast that I listen to that just helps my marriage, and I would love for my friends to know about it, and share our message with them. That is more important. The word of mouth and you saying, this has made a difference in my marriage, and we would love for you to have the same experience. That's massive to us, and that means more to us probably than anything else you could do, is just through word of mouth. That's and right. Again, if you're not real comfortable, doing that on social media, which I hope some of you will do that, but if you aren't, even if it's just, I want to share this with my best friend. Right. I want them to know, because I don't want to hide a marriage resource and keep it to myself. That's I want other people to get the same value out of it. So. That's right.
We were boom through those.
We rolled through it, but I don't know. I think it's because we get all excited about what we're doing and what we're helping with. And, you nailed it when you said we've had a couple of weeks off and it's been refreshing, but at the same time, it was literally yesterday when we made that post. And then all of a sudden, our messages just exploded, which was awesome, because that just means it stinks that there's marriages that are hurting, but it's awesome that they're willing to reach out.
That's right.
And so
That's right. It's much easier to give up.
Yes, and people don't want to admit when they're hurting, but when they reach out and they say, "This is how I'm hurting, please pray for me,"
Right.
It just means so much. And so we're just kind of doing a restart today. Wanted all of our new listeners and our old listeners to know exactly what we're about. If you've got any questions, please reach out to us, but we would love to hear from you. Again, our website is theredeemedmarriage.com, and in our show notes, we always put links to our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and our website. So be sure to click on those. Go visit us. Leave us a message at one of those places. We'd love to hear from you. So thanks for listening. We hope you guys have a great week.